All right, everybody, welcome back to our GGDA winter quarter meeting. Thank you all for being here at KSU today. Great session this morning. Apparently, the live stream audience didn't enjoy it because after the test stream, it stopped showing. But you missed a great presentation, and Dove and Joe's dance was the highlight of this year for everybody. But before we get into this presentation on attracting press and publisher interest in your indie game, we did want to announce some excellent indie games that are being developed in Georgia right now. So who took part in the Global Game Jam this year? Excellent, excellent. I strongly recommend anyone do it. Joe, are you ready? Yeah. Okay, very good. But this is the third year that we've done our Best in Georgia competition. The second year we've done it under this structure. The idea behind the Best in Georgia competition is to take one nominated project from each of the locations, pair them with industry mentors to advance them for another month, and then take the best of those to give the industry expertise they need to get them into distribution. And that's really the goal, to get more great games coming out of Georgia. So this year, we had, I believe, another 500 people taking part in the Game Jam around the state. We had nominees from the Georgia State University location, Kennesaw State University location, SCAD Atlanta, and SCAD Savannah. And I would like to thank our sponsors, at least one of whom is here today, Michael Brown from Vicarious PR. Thank you very much. Listen Up Audio is donating time with their equipment. The Business Law Partners giving legal advice, as well as Morris, Manny, and Martin give advice on getting your IPs registered, and Jocelyn Business Coaching to help with setting up your business. And in addition, of course, the GGA will be helping promote the game, arrange play tests, and the like as you move forward. Two of our judges are here. I'd like to thank Sean Shepard and Reynolds, who were not able to make it here today. But two of our judges are here. And so, Joe and Dove, if you'd like to tell everyone about the games we saw.
Sure. I was at the Georgia State location. There were 196 programmers, 17 different games. It was astounding to me how good really almost every one of them were.
It's already making me look bad because I have no idea how many people were games.
Yeah, so it was hard as one of the judges to make that first cut from everybody to the nominees. I don't know if you felt that.
I wasn't part of that first cut.
Okay. And then the second cut was even harder. But but we're going to show you now the 4 games that made it out of the 4 Game Jam sites. If I can operate Safari. Okay, so this one is called Hemstat Super Charming. This is SCAD Atlanta, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, SCAD Atlanta.
Yes, SCAD Atlanta.
In this game, you don't mind me talking a little bit? There's all these crabs, all these hermit crabs and shells. You have to figure out what they like. There's no music like this in the game. It's a relatively simple matching puzzle with a sweet charm. So I played this, I think, while we could play it, which was, I think, 10 minutes before. But it was good. There's another game by a group at who's here now? Maka Games? And what site did you?
KSU.
Oh, right here. Okay, so these are local champions.
There were no students on your game, right?
Oh, okay, so you're not a KSU student,
Yeah.
but you won this site. Was it in this building?
Well, the next building over.
Yeah, probably not gonna play the whole 4 minutes.
Okay.
Might skip ahead to stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, skip.
Into the play.
Yeah. So it's a cute little story where you're this guy who wakes up and separated from reality, I think, and you have to figure out what's going on. And it's pretty much a point-and-click adventure game, and this guy moves really cool.
Yeah, that's the sadness part.
Yeah.
You try and, it's a platformer, and you try and run and jump, and you can't jump on them together. You'll fall the last little bit.
Yeah. Very cute, very nice. And a lot of potential in this one. As you,
Yes.
yeah, like this was a very nice one.
What did this open? I never could figure out what I did with it.
Because you didn't get to the point where this might connect up with the touchpad, right?
Wait, I didn't do the.
What? They haven't connected it up yet, correct?
No,
That-
it's there.
Fair statement?
It's there. Once
Oh,
find-
you could put in the 2015?
Yeah. So the touchpad works.
The touchpad works, but was there a winning combo?
There is a winning combo, but it doesn't unlock anything yet.
Right, that's what I thought, so, yeah. Was it 2014, 15, or with the
Oh
7?
no, it actually had it at the top. It showed what the password was, so you could go ahead and show that it worked. But
Okay.
This is the death scene, which I saw lots of times. As a New York boy, this made me very sentimental for riding in the subway. I put out a lot of my fantasies. The subways crashed me. This is another team who's here called, and I happen to know, it's about life the theme of every game is home.
Here at Dope we put flavor second and cleanliness first. Not your typical greasy, grimy pizzeria. We currently hold a 96% cleanliness rating. It could have been better. But you'll see, we're more than capable of winning 100% in your hearts. Our tables, squeaky. Our kitchen, clean. Our ceilings, forget about it. If you're even the slightest bit germophobic, boy oh boy, have we got the toilets for you. Doughboy. And this is the team behind your Doughboys experience, the Boy family. My son, Mom, is the best cleaning boy in the business. My daughter runs deliveries. Mom runs the register, and even my youngest tries to pitch in where he can. Spending time with my family is what gives my life joy. So I'm glad we can share some of that joy with you in the form of delicious, piping hot pizza.
You know, it's not punching his dad in the belly.
All summer, if you buy one large, 2-topping medium classic ham and pineapple pizza, or a smaller Smee, you can get 3 personal-sized, large, hot and ready meat lovers pan pizzas, your choice of Sicilian or thin crust, half price. So come on over to Doughboys Pizzeria. We also have calzones.
The big brown things that you're fighting in the
That's
bathrooms,
right. We're not your typical.
they're not what you think. Grease, I'm told. I got to exploit my position, is that,
Okay.
by going, it turns out, to the actual Doughboys Pizzeria, getting free pizza in return for a crooked vote.
It could have been better. But you'll see, we're more than capable of winning 100% in your hearts. Our tables, our kitchen, our ceilings.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Okay, and then this was done by SCAD in Savannah. And this is
Very good.
yeah.
Some really nice art in it.
This is a really beautiful game. It's a tether kind of game where two people are independently moving, but if you don't coordinate your movement, you don't have power, and the world turns gray. But when you come together, your rockets glow and form a heart together. You know, one's female, one's male-ish. and the world turns into color, and the music gets better. So I played this with my wife, which I haven't played the game with my wife in 1 year. To really moving piece. Well, I never saw any of those things. Nothing of this.
Right.
This is like a totally unrelated game.
Well, in Mopboy, I couldn't get the grease off of the ceiling. I couldn't jump up. So there was a couple things I saw in the trailer that I didn't think I could do with the game or get high enough. Was I just playing it poorly? Sorry.
I just played it for the first time and I got like the entire all of 3 cents.
Okay.
If you're working at a pizza place, you have to be high enough.
So are we?
I think, well, you were the leader of the Hatch team, you're the mentor,
And you were the leader of?
Mopolis.
Yes.
Free pizza.
And it's an amazing coincidence.
So I think you should make the announcement since you played Hatch.
Well, okay, so, congratulations to the team. Mopboy, is one of the winners.
What? One of the winners?
I thought there's only one winner.
Well, we decided it was too close to call. And we decided to do a little bit of shared prizes, et cetera, and, go ahead.
I'd like to announce that Hatch is an co-equal winner.
Yep.
Doesn't mean there's extra prizes, time for first pizza, Andrew's gonna
Split the prize.
It's like Solomon.
Based on what we thought you guys would most appreciate the
Right, and thank you to the Savannah teams for competing as well. And we hope you can continue working with your mentors, interacting with them alike. So we did have a discussion about it, and there was some thinking that our business side prizes, the 2 law firms consulting time as well as the business consulting coach, would be better served with which team?
I'm not sure. Mopboy, right. That's why I'm not sure.
You're not
What's my
creative,
team?
you're not creative. Right.
Right.
So you're getting consulting time. Business law partners will help you with structuring your company. And Morris Manning Martin will talk to you about how to actually file for your intellectual property protection. For Hatch, the thinking was you would really benefit from the Listen Up audio time because you're very focused on the audio production side of it. And they have offered their facilities for recording and for work in here in Atlanta, as well as Vicarious PR has offered consulting services on how to get the word out about your games. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. And if some of our sponsors have said that they might also entertain working with both of you, so we'll see and follow up, and I'll put everybody in touch. But based on what they have committed to at this point, that's how we're splitting it up. So if you really feel you need some Listen Up audio time, let me know. If you really feel you need the legal time, let me know, and we'll see about arranging actually. So congratulations to all our winners. And we'll both get to put that I'll send you the file on your website and you move forward. So with that, Robert, Michael, Joe, you want to be on this panel?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So I should be on this one, and Doug, of course. You don't want to talk about attracting publisher interest?
I will try.
All right. So this panel is on one of the issues all indie devs seem to have issue with, which is, come on around this side and I'll reset the camera. And this is why I wanted the volunteers down front to reset the camera for me. We'll talk specifically, there we go. Oh, you all look great.
Where'd you go?
Ron never went indie, never ended up working with that many outside publishers. So, thought it'd be great to have this collection. So one more time, if our speakers would be so kind as to introduce themselves, starting with our new speaker on my left, on the audience left.
Okay, I'm Robert Waller. I have a small indie firm here in Atlanta called Waller Digital. And I make mostly small scope puzzle games right now. I've got one out that It's gotten a lot of attention recently called Simker. Can I plug it a bit? I'm going to show it at PAX East in a month. So that's me.
I'm Joe Caswell, the Joe in Puzzles by Joe, and I'm gonna only say a couple things here, so I'm tempted to get them out of the way, but I'll make you wait for them.
I'm Michael Brown, CEO and co-founder of Vicarious PR. I help companies self-publish and self-publish games under my own name.
I'm Jeff Jacobson from Games at Work, studio that's here for all that.
All right. So, Joe, say what you want to say so we get you off the heck up stage. No.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I did two things. So I actually picked my market so that I didn't have to worry about marketing, sort of, okay? So I picked distributors that I knew that if I gave them a game of a certain shape, length, etc., that they would put it on their site, that because of the way things work, they only got 1 or 2 games a day as opposed to the 400 freaking games on other sites. And that way, that very first game, this is 8 or 9 years ago, would get 100,000 eyeballs. And then if I wrote a good enough game that got a good enough conversion rate, I'd be okay, wouldn't have to worry about marketing. With that said, the other second thing I would say is the franchise effect has worked really well for me. I've done 8 games. I won't say exactly the same because they're really not. But if I had done 8 separate games, I'd be working for somebody else. And in my market, I was able to build up an audience over time with what I call the franchise effect. And it's been very powerful. And last thing is, but I'm just starting to realize that better pictures might have helped. So, I'm still learning lessons and trying to figure out how to do marketing now that my market has shrunk enough that I might have to get into that ugly world of mobile and tablets and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you're not done. You've got a lot more to say.
No.
All right, the first question I wanted to throw out to our panel is, at what stage should you start thinking about attracting attention from publishers and press?
Cool.
Come on, Dov, or Michael. Okay.
I'll go first. So, publishers, you want to have, it depends on what you need, right? So, can you fully fund the game yourself, and then do you just need a publisher to distribute and market, or do you need funding, right? So, if you need funding, then you need to contact the publisher around about when you've got a complete prototype. With that prototype, so I help in these pitch, and I teach them how to pitch to publishers. What you don't want to do is just get Unity or any kind of game engine and just show a character walking in your prototype. You actually have to show something that you can actually, I always tell people to, if you say you're making a turn-based strategy game and the hook of your game is that you have an environment, you can interact with the environment to cause death to the enemy, so to speak. Show that in your prototype. Show you can do the hard part so that a publisher can be like, oh, you can actually do what you said you're going to do. Because anyone can just program a character to walk down the street. For press, this really depends on, it depends on what your game is, what genre it is, what platform it's going to be on, what stage of development you're in. That can vary wildly, and it can be very unique because different games have different PR ammunition. So, a 60-hour RPG is going to have a lot more to talk about than an actually puzzle game, right? So, it ultimately depends on what type of game you're building and the story behind your game, because that's equally important as to, what your studio is about, how your studio was formed, who you are as people, what challenges you overcame. You have to think about all these things when contacting media, and you also have to think about the marketplace. Is anyone going to care about your game, right? Is your game a niche game? Is it a mass market product? All of these things are massive variables into how you go about formulating a strategy, and whether you want to go for a publisher or whether you want to self-publish. Because ultimately, if you go for a publisher, you don't really need to worry about press too much if they've agreed to do the PR marketing for you. That said, though, there are publishers out there who will put you in into their PR marketing machine, and they will drop you in favor of a large title. So you also have to think about that. So yes, information overload. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what you do get from press and publishers these days, because it's changed a lot from how it used to be structured.
Yeah, so press side, you've got to separate into two things, right? Traditional games journalists who work for polygons and, rock, paper, shotgun and that kind of thing, and then you've got influencers who separate between streamers and video creators. So a traditional journalist is going to, there's different types obviously, so some are going to focus on story content like editorials, and then there's news writers and there's reviewers. So those people are going to focus on different angles. So a news writer is going to be interested in your game announcement, into your new trailer, into when you've announced that not only are you going to PC, but you're going to PS4 too. An editorial writer is going to be interested in your story, the story of the game, or relating the game into a current world view or new piece of news that's going to, talk about something culturally. If your game is, if your game is telling a story about something specific like socioeconomic topics, then an editorial writer is going to focus on that. And then a reviewer is self-explanatory in terms of the review of the game. Whereas influencers are going to focus more on, video influencers are going to focus on, depending on what kind of content they do, they're going to focus on that. If it's Let's Plays, they're just going to play the game. If it's a specific type of content where they're going to chop up your game and make funny videos out of it, this or that, streamers are going to look for streamable games. It's not just any game, it's not just a straightforward Let's Play. They're going to look for something where it keeps the audience entertained and keeps them able to generate content in terms of how can I entertain an audience while playing this game. So if your game is just a match 3 puzzle game, it's going to be really tough for them to talk about that 2 hours straight and try to earn money. So they're going to look at it very differently as well. So you've got to contend with all that. On the publisher side, a publisher can provide you with a lot of different things. And there are a lot of different publishers out there now. It used to be that you had a very limited selection of publishers and they were going to take everything from you, and that was the end of the story. Nowadays, you can pretty much negotiate depending on what leverage you have. So the first thing a publisher is going to look at is your IP. Do they want to have your IP? Do they think it's valuable enough for them to try and get it off you so that they can make X number of sequels and spin-offs off your IP and not have to pay a penny? If they don't want your IP, which most publishers tend to let you keep their IPs now, they're going to provide you with potential funding for development. The way that usually works is that they will give you a certain amount of money per milestone of development, and the way that usually works is that you develop a certain amount of content and then they approve it, and they have to go through an approval process and then you get paid for that time, and then it works until you finish. And then a developer publisher will also give you PR and marketing. Now, this is a bit of a grey area for a lot of publishers, and this is where something indies have to be very careful of, is that publishers can take you for a ride real easy depending on the legal terminology of any given contract. Which is why I always advise people that if you're going to sit down with a publisher and they say, hey, we're really looking forward to distributing your game, we'll do all the PR and marketing on it, and it just says the publisher is responsible for the PR and marketing on it, that means they could spend $1 and say that they've done their contractual obligation, right? That doesn't worth nothing to you. So you need to make sure that if a publisher is going to offer you PR and marketing, that you have a set fixed amount in that contract that they're obligated to spend on advertising and obligated to spend on PR. Because what you don't want to end up in a situation is, ambiguity and terminology that is open to interpretation will be the death of you in any contract situation, because they're not there to be your friend. It's a business arrangement, and their sole goal is to make money. And if putting another product first over your product helps them make money, then that's what they're going to try to do. So you have to make sure that there is no interpretation available to any given agreement with the publisher. Now that's the main things that they're going to do. Some publishers will offer you, connections and partnerships, and they're going to maybe fund some hardware for you and all that kind of thing. But that's a general overview of that.
So Robert, you've gone the self-publishing route and had some enviable success with that, but you've also had some great success attracting press, media, blogger attention for what you've done. What can you say about how you managed that accomplishment?
Right, okay, yeah, so typical indie shoestring budget, so I approach things slightly differently than a professional, PR publisher guy. But so my shoestring budget was basically doing things like this. This is the right place to start PR for your game or marketing, is the network, is learn things at events like this and network with your peers and make friends with your peers. I'm getting, there's a story here, I'm getting to it, but when you do that, these guys that you're working with today or game jamming with today could be the guys that are jurying your game for the next expo, the next MomoCon, the next PAX, and those are the places where you can actually get earned promotion. So I try to make a distinction between paid promotion and earned promotion, and earned promotion for me is about the only one I can afford. So I earn my own promotion by doing the legwork. Direct emails, that's worked really well for me for Sinker. What I did for Sinker is I looked at all the other games that were scoped similar to mine and see what influencers were covering those games, and I would collect their email addresses. This is hugely intensive. It took me weeks to do this, just to get all the information I needed. And then send out emails, send out personalized emails called VCC, CC. Always do a personalized email. You can do mail merge, but you really have to be careful about it. Doing events like MomoCon, PAX, and things like that, when you get to that point, you'll get lists of publishers, or not publishers, I'm sorry, PR, press people that are coming to your event, and you can use those to kind of feed into the machine of emailing people and talking to people. So that's kind of grassroots how I approach it.
All right. A lot of that is involved with persistence, not being a pest, but going after them regularly. Joe, you have that story on the distribution side.
Yeah.
Can you share that?
Never take no. No is just waiting.
Oh, share the story. You can't get away with not telling the story.
So let's see. So Gamehouse even got better than that story. So Gamehouse said Clutter One was just too arcade for them. So I insulted them a couple times, which is poor choice on my part. Never go that route. And Clutter 2 came along, and in person I groveled and apologized in their face. And they finally, actually, I can't remember if it was Clutter 2 or Clutter 3 they finally took, okay? And I constantly sent them, emails. In fact, I'm going to merge the story into two, because it was actually Wild Tangent that I sent emails to, a different one that also had rejected me. And at about the same time I was turning Gamehouse around, Wild Tangent sent me an email from a VP that said, although I admire your tenacity, we're this close to never wanting to hear from you again. And that's because I actually went around the people that said yes or no to the person above them and started connecting to them through LinkedIn and pushing them. But anyways, long story short, I groveled. Gamehouse took number 2, 3, 4, still refused to take number 1. No matter how too important for us, but they finally took number 1 a little while ago. And now here's the kicker. Gamehouse now, just this week, sent me an email saying, think about being exclusive with us for the next one, basically. They want, me to do this, 1 month or 2 month thing with them so that they give me a higher percentage or whatever. So, but I don't think I'll do it because they're a low percentage to begin with, but it was nice that they asked, because the game seems to be doing well. So, and really just never, I'm sure that's just one. I mean, I have anxiety because I always feel like I crossed the line and that I worry until I hear back from somebody. Like Big Fish, I was the secondary game for my first 2 games. They sometimes do 2 games a day, and I'm what they call the soft launch. And once I saw my customers and reviews complaining about that this game's too good, I tried to make a case that, man, you're killing me here, right? And sometimes I'd get pushback, and sometimes I'd go into this debate with them, and you really don't want to debate people too much, and especially insult or whatever. But I got better over the years of sending that next email going, well, thanks for ranting, I'm glad you listened to me, I'm still, whatever you need, I'll give it to you, but I am frustrated. And often I would get an email back that's from somebody who doesn't really have the power in the company going, oh, we hear you. And really, oh yeah, nice. They can't do anything for me, but they do that. But yeah, never take the first no means you wait a week. That's all. Seriously, as long as, right? I mean, and it's not, no, I can't make that joke, sorry.
Do I need to turn off the stream and come back?
All right. Show's over. No, I can't make the joke, so go.
Yeah, I mean, persistence is fine. I think it depends on who it's with, right? Like, you don't want to push press people too fast, because if you press people too far, then you're going to ruin that relationship real fast and pretty much forever. If you don't hear back from like a journalist, it's fine to follow up like once or twice, but if you still don't hear back, probably leave it alone, because at a certain point, if you just keep pushing journalists or influencers, and because most of them won't say no to you because they're too busy, right? They're just moving on to the next email. So if you keep spamming their inbox with more and more emails, then you're either going to end up blocked, or it could damage you later down the line when you've matured in your experience a bit. You go, oh, that's what I did wrong there, and then you go back with your next game and you go, let's do this one, and then they're going to go, oh, you're that person who did that for like 6 months last time, never going to speak to you again. With publishers, it's okay to be a little bit more persistent and a bit more pestful, because the publishers and they can take on the chin as everybody goes. It just depends on what the situation is, right? I mean, especially if it's any kind of negotiation with a publisher, you really got to be careful about how much you push it, but at the same time understand your leverage as well. Like, you're not worthless, and just because they have billions, gazillions of dollars doesn't mean that they're the be all and end all. So a happy medium is what I would recommend. I mean, don't oversell yourself, but at the same time, don't push people away just because you want something real bad, because it's not the ideal way to get it.
That's really interesting. Can I interject? The emailing people over and over again, when you don't get a response, you kind of wonder. I mean, just send them another one. I didn't get a no, right? I mean, yes either. But so what about using some sort of tracking mechanism so you can tell whether you can open email?
Yeah, I mean, so I use stuff in PR all the time to track email opens. You can use MailChimp, you can use, even if you don't want to use a sender, you can use something like HubSpot, which you can just connect to your Gmail, and it'll send a tracking link, and you'll be able to see if people have opened it, right? Just because they've opened something doesn't mean that they're still not interested. Like, if they've opened it, you can see they've opened it, and they still haven't emailed back, doesn't mean they're not interested. They might just not be the right time, or they might just be super busy. Because you have to understand, like, especially if you're contacting an influencer or a media person, then they've got deadlines to meet with X amount of projects that week anyway, so they're already busy, and so they might not just be able to slide you in that week, right? And they're not going to tell you or email you next week because they're too busy. So, as a general rule, what I tell my staff is twice is fine. So email them the first time. If they don't reply, email them the second time, maybe 3 or 4 days later. If they still don't reply, and you really think, like, you really believe in this one, then the third time, a couple of days later, is fine, but no more than that. Like, 3 times and you haven't heard anything, take the hint.
Right, and you can also use the information if they didn't open the email, and maybe you got another problem, and that could be why your subject line isn't capturing people that you want to open it. And then I think different rules apply to the number of times.
Yeah, I mean, it's different, and you have to. DIY PR is always a tricky thing. It's not something it's not for everybody. It's not something I recommend for everybody. But sometimes, budgets what budgets are, and you've got no option, right? So research is key before you even start. Like 90% of the success of any given outreach to a journalist or an influencer is research. Because picking the right person at like rock, paper, shotgun is going to be instrumental, because if you get someone who doesn't give a crap about the genre that you're talking about, they're not going to be interested, just flat out. so whether they're free or not. So you want to make sure that you've got the right person to start off with. And if they don't reply, it's always okay to later down the line try someone else's site. You don't want to do it too quickly because staff talk, right? So if you email someone and then email someone else the second day, they're going to be like, oh, I got that email. And then, oh, they emailed me yesterday, block, right? So you've got to give it an appropriate amount of time. But if you do your research, and it's a really tight, this is why I do full-time, right? Because it's a full-time job, right? So when you're doing it and you've got the games to develop, you have to understand that you're not going to do it to the level of a professional, right? But at the same time, it doesn't mean you can't get good results with it. So what you want to do is 90% of the time, you want to spend 90% of that effort into researching your targets, right? Because what you don't want to end up doing is just going, oh, you know what, I'll just pull all the email addresses of every journalist or every site and just send out the same thing, right? There's no point. You're better off getting 3 journalists that you know absolutely love the genre you're making and target and just sending those 3 emails. That's more valuable because if any one of those actually do pick it up, then you never know that 3 or 4 other people might pick it up after they pick it up. So that's probably what I want to do.
So let's talk a little bit more about the pre-launch period. First of all, with Robert and Joe, the distribution platforms have taken over one of the key roles of the publisher, which is getting the game into people's hands. And you both have had some good success getting onto distribution platforms. How do you target a distribution platform? So, for instance, Robert, you've been with Congregate and a number of others, and Joe, you've got a number that you went after. What about them is makes it right for you?
Yeah, so when I started, I knew immediately, and I even asked them beforehand, but I basically knew that Big Fish and iWin, which were the 2 biggest I cared about anyways in my distribution chain, that they would say yes as long as the game met a minimum requirement, which it had to be a full game. And by the way, so I worked for iWin. I did a game called Mahjong Quest. I did 3 versions of it, so I knew what it took to be a game in that market. Okay? And even though the boom and bust had sort of happened, I still knew that if I did a game that lasted 4 to 6 hours, that ran in full screen in Windows and didn't crash, that they'd take it. That's all I cared about. And I got them, they both pretty much said yes beforehand, but they still had to say yes when they saw it. And once I got on them, I used that to get on the other ones. And that's, in fact, the ones that said no, I would hit them back and say, but I was a top 20 game and I did this. Why don't you guys want to make money? That was basically what I would say, to try to push through that. And then I constantly would check back. There was a foreign distributor called Exempt, that the only reason I got on them is that I called my CEO one day after I was already on Game House and Wild Tangent and Shockwave, and I said, am I missing anybody? And he said, well, you can try Exempt, okay? And even now, I look for different places than whether Congregate, I thought maybe at one point I might put something out on Congregate and so forth. I also sell directly from my own website and have been maintaining my list and so forth. And I just broke records with my last game there because it's been a while and my Facebook presence is enough that, I have a 1,200 person list and about 300 went out and bought the game when I announced it and, directly for me instead of so forth.
25%?
And that's what I want. I want eventually to wean off my dependence on all these, all these other channels. And sometimes I get lucky. Sometimes, the one thing I did right is the freaking franchise, okay? I know you guys are sitting here, I'm 8 games now, and people see that, and it's a body of work, I'm like an artist that sucked for years, but they finally put out 10 albums, and somebody said, wow. And what's nice is they go back to the earlier ones or whatever, but even the people I've dealt with, the story becomes better. I mean, I've been telling the same story for 4 or 5 years, but it's got more weight now. It's people pay attention. And I learned part of that. I'm going to thank Steve right now. 2 years ago, I did this pitch at the investment conference, and I totally ignored the advice of the legal and money guys that said lead with my numbers. And I didn't, and I did really badly there, and had a blast, learned a lot, but really got hammered that I didn't lead with my numbers. So I rethought my business card and I rethought what I do, and LinkedIn now says 3 million in sales, man. And so does my business card in red. I just redid them, 3 million in sales. And I can still do the humble story of, hey, that doesn't mean I made the 3 million. And it's been over 10 years and it's 7 freaking games, but it's kept me in business. But people hear 3 million in sales, they still want to talk to me. You know, and that's a lesson I didn't learn 2 years ago. So it's everything just, he's on Sinker too, the man,
I'm working on that franchise.
Again, having a body of work over time, you really, I do want to just talk, there's forest trees and there's long-term, short-term thinking. It's a freaking marathon. It is not a sprint. But get out that next game with your team and then figure out something else to do next. The worst thing I did is I would sit around after I put out a game and I would procrastinate for 2 or 3 months and going, should I be doing this? And I hedge my bets or do something else. And when I look back, hindsight, I've given up $500,000 easily from, I took a second job when I shouldn't have. And even though they paid me well, that ended up being, if I really could compress how often I got out, clutter, etc., I'd be at least this much, better off.
Sounds like a problem we'd all love to have.
But it's one that motivates me to, I have not gotten out of clutter in less than a year, sort of, without cheating, sort of. But this time, because of Unity and everything else, I'm trying for 5 months max, man, 5. And if I can do that, screw the fact that the market's shrinking. I might be able to hire this guy someday.
So, Rob, you ended up on a lot of platforms.
Yeah, well, so Joe was talking about curated platforms. You have to have a product that they actually want, and I don't. Not because it's a different product. So the games that I've been working on are very low scope. 2 hours, 2.5 hours playtime, which is not enough for you to get big fish or game mouse to consider. And they're different. It's a different kind of aesthetic too. So you have to really pay attention for what platforms you're going to, what game you have. And my game was perfect for Steam, let's say. And I know Steam really well, so I started out there. Get a little attention on Steam, and then you can do other things. I went to Congregate mostly to get attention on Steam more. Congregate was a good place to demo your games. It's a perfect fit for that kind of crowd. And, I got, 300,000 people to play my game that didn't pay anything for it, but that's attention. That's I'm counting all the portals like Newgrounds, Armor Games, Congregate, put them all together. And that's a lot of people that get to play your game. Just that alone is enough to make most people happy. Yeah, people are playing my game, it's awesome. But it also helps with awareness, and like Joe said, that franchise thing sounds really good. You don't have to actually make 1, 2, 3, 4 of the same kind of game, but you can make games that you want to make, and if you put them all on the same storefront, people will know you're the developer of X, Y, and Z, and that's important. Your third game that you got attention for is going to be a lot easier than the first one, that's for sure.
I think that's.
And you bring well. I do want to. So I've got I got about 2,000 people that come to my website. And that, I am not allowed to have a link in my game. That is because I strongly brand Puzzles by Joe and Clutter. And that anybody that's made it to my website is people that have found me over the years. And what's really nice is every time I release a game, I do notice, I get a spike in people going up. It's, they come find me. I even think that making my last game with no text, which is annoying some people, is possibly driving more people to my website. So it might be a smart decision in the long run.
To get complaints?
What? Yeah.
To get complaints?
Yeah.
So, Dove, you've dealt with the traditional publisher model, both in a sense as the publisher as well as the developer. So we've had some questions online. I'd love for you to speak a little bit about both of those roles. What do you take to publishers? What are publishers looking for? But online, Chaz Trammell has asked, should you have a playable demo level for publishing? Would a single level suffice in that situation?
Well, yeah, now what people want is a vertical slice, or a beautiful corner, if they want to call that. Something where you really do all the work, in terms of depth, for a little bit of breadth. But of course, depth is much harder than that. Right? If they want to see what is the game, they just add money and they get more of it. but they don't want to have to guess. I have to add money to something that looks kind of crappy because it's gone, it's gone, this whole place as well.
And his follow-up question is, what is the timeline between being accepted by a publisher to actual launch? And I think it might be better to talk not about how long it takes, but what are the steps between those two?
Yeah, I mean, typically, I kind of want to go back to the question you asked at the beginning.
Sure.
When do you start to think about the publisher in the process of bringing a game? I guess we made a couple of games where we were like motivated to make a game. It was like our baby, but more and more, yeah, it's fun to make almost any game, and it's a lot more fun to make a game somebody wants to play than a game you want people to think is cool.
Yeah, I echo that too.
Yeah, so thinking about the publisher really early, while you're trying to decide what game to make, is going to pay off tremendously. You have a publisher that has some IP and isn't addressing the market that wants to, or that particular IP isn't in there, then you can bring something, can approach them really early. I made something similar, I can make that with your game, or someone that is in the genre, shooter games, they want to do a hunting game. Well, maybe you haven't done a hunting game, but maybe fine. You know that they want one, because you are at GDC at some party, and you're talking to the guy next to you, and he's working for that guy, he can tell you what, we've done that. And so I recommend looking at it. I recommend pitching, solving the business problem for the publisher rather than pitching a game. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to solve business.
One of the things I advise people when they're pitching publishers is to try and have market data to back up what you're saying, right? Because ultimately it's a numbers game for publishers. If you can show that the game that you're making has a sizable audience who like to spend money, then they're going to go for you, right? And coming back to the, pitching a publisher a game and having a game that a publisher wants, right? That comes down to you in terms of what kind of company you want to be, right? Because there's a difference between being a developer who makes games for themselves as passion projects, whereas, or a developer who wants to make a game company, right? Because a game company doesn't make passion projects, a games company makes games that are going to sell well. That's the difference. One's a business, one's a passion project, and you have to decide on which you want to do. Because the passion project, yes, you might end up, your passion project might be a marketable game, but 9 times out of 10 probably isn't. So you have to decide on what type of company you want to be first, then decide if you want to pursue path A or path B, because you might not end up enjoying a lot of the development of a certain type of game, but ultimately that's the game that the publisher wants to put in front, right? So that's the trade-off.
Right. So I spent my last 2 years before quitting so sick of coming up with game ideas that they would reject. We went from having 2 really super hit games, one was Dual Quest and one was Mahjong Quest, back during this boom of this casual market where the world found out, oh, women will play games if you give them the right games. Okay? Huge boom. They made tons of money, and then we went from a company of 13 up to over 100 or so, and it was death by committee. And I got so sick of pitching stuff, and I'm a bit arrogant at times on certain things, as some of you know, and my mantra for 2 years was pick a goddamn genre and I'll write you, a game that does well in it, and that's how arrogant I was, and I finally pitched something and had done so well on a couple other things quickly for them that they half greenlit a game called Diamonds, which was sort of my entry in sort of a soft hidden object, but adventure point and click. It was just different, but wasn't quite in the genre, but it was close enough. Got it half done when they pulled the plug on it, and that's when I quit. And I then said, well, how do I do this? My wife said, can you do this game on your own? I said, well, not quite this game. But I looked at the market and said, hidden object games is the largest demographic. That's what I'm going to shoot for. I'm going to do a version I can do low cost with just my time and effort. And I want it replayable because that's what I do. And that's how I ended up making Clutter, to fit the market. Not because I wanted to play Clutter. In fact, the very first Clutter game, very first Clutter level demo I played, took me 20 minutes to go through, and I loved it. It was super hard, it was so awesome, but it wasn't the game I could make. I had to immediately go, how do I let mom over 40 play this game? Zane's got a question.
I do. So you're talking about taking games to fit a market and using data. It takes time to make a game. How do you predict what the market's going to be like by the time you finish?
Please repeat the question.
Zane wanted to know how do you predict the market, and my answer is you don't. But I knew hidden object games weren't going to go away, so I knew I was pretty safe from that. But the market shrunk over here. I didn't, mobile came, and basically the problem with the PC market is this, at least with my target demographic, which is women over 40 with some disposable income. When their PC bites the bullet, they are most likely to go buy an iPad. How do you fight that? Well, again, my franchise effect has offset that, but when I first had to do it, I had no doubt a year down the road, that game would still be okay. And by the way, I was pleasantly surprised that 8 years later, still people are playing freaking hidden object games. So it was huge, by the way. I knew that data-wise. Hidden object games weren't just like 3-ball matches and 3 other things, okay? Hidden object games were these games that women bought, mostly women, that played for, they treated them like a movie, okay? They'd play them for 3 or 4 hours and they're done with them. And they'd go on to the next one. And it was like a movie to them. And it took over the entire casual game market. I was there when Big Fish wiped out everybody else pretty much. They had a price war. Games used to sell for $20. Big Fish said, we'll sell them for 10. And then they made hidden object games that were so good, they cornered all the hidden object fans and doubled the price of hidden object games only. They kicked ass. So much they got bought up at Churchill Downs a few years ago, and now half their money comes from Big Games Casino because they saw that coming. Big Fish is either really freaking lucky or the people at the top are, smart people. So
yeah. It's not about predicting it per se. Like there's no perfect model. It's just about educating guests, right? Like if you look at what EA's done with Apex, and you go, okay, so how did that come about? Well, they looked at the market for battle royale games, and they looked at the market for team shooters, and they went, no, we're really good if we did both. And there you go, right? Now, there's no guarantee of success with that, right, at all. But they just looked at 2 data points and said, well, maybe we can do something that's different in both and put them together and create a market. And that's all you can do. There is no magic, oh, this is definitely going to work. If I make this unique mechanic in this genre, is it going to hit the audience well or not? It's just about an educated guess. And that's ultimately all you can really do. But there's plenty of data to show at least there's an audience for it, right? If your data shows nobody's playing these games and nobody's bought this type of genre for several years, then you're going to start to worry there's probably an audience there.
Do you think a superhero movie's gonna, come out next year and they're gonna stop making superhero movies because all of a sudden we fit right? It's what you're shooting for. It's educated, right?
It's not just the style, too. It's the platform.
Right.
Should you be making a VR game now?
What about Switch?
Yeah, or Switch.
Make sure your game can go to Switch.
Or a Switch already overloaded.
Like I know a lot of people, NES is a very popular game. Very popular platform, but it wasn't a good platform in money.
Right. I spent 3 or 4 years back, rallying against the big lie when everybody in this room would be going, I'm going to make a mobile game. Yeah, this is Gold Rush.
Yeah, I mean that's true for every platform though. I mean, the two easiest platforms to develop for are Steam and mobile, right? And both are ridiculously oversaturated to the point of your chances of success are reduced by the day. So it ultimately comes down to how good you can make your game and how well you can market your game. If you can do those 2 things fairly well, then you have a better chance than 90% of people who want to.
80% market, 20% other games.
I'll be the counterpoint that says, don't be too mercenary when you're just starting out. You know, making money is great, you gotta eat, but you know, if it's a passion project, you can put so much more of your time into it and feel like you're making something you wanna make. And if you're purely out trying to chase that battle royale thing, you don't even like playing battle royales, why you even wanna make a battle royale? Well, maybe to make money, that's a valid reason.
Yeah.
You
But,
gotta think
but
about
that's the trade-off, right? Is if you make a passion project, then you can't be expecting both. You can't expect battle royale sales with a passion project, right? You have to be realistic.
But if you're a novelist, I understand what they tell novelists, they write about what you know. If you're a game maker and you wanna make your first game, like, make something you wanna play, you know those games, right? So it's the same thing, but like they said, you're not gonna make money on your first game, probably just forget about it, you know, if it's just a passion project.
Right, and to clear up, from 1989 to 92, I spent 3.5 years, 20 hours a week making a game called Modern Problems that I sold through shareware and made $80 from.
But don't get discouraged.
And it was a passion project.
There's always game 2 and 3 and.
All right, question over here.
So if you're targeting an oversaturated market like mobile or Steam, is it better to make a niche project that you know?
Please repeat the question.
Is it, so if you're targeting an oversaturated market like Steam or mobile, is it better to make a niche game? That depends on what your goal is. Do you want to make money?
I mean, like if you essentially throw like just a standard casual mobile game into the market, people might play it.
Right. Well, yes.
You're not going to get anything, whether it be money or.
It's better to make a game where you can actually shine, right? So better to make a high quality niche game than a really crappy casual game every day of the week, right? So that's definitely true in every case, regardless of whether you're going for, you know, lots of sales or not, because your game has to be high quality or you're never going to get anywhere. But ultimately, I think I don't think it's black and white either, right? There's things that you can do to take something that you love and make it open for a mass market, right? It doesn't have to be so one side or the other. You can just really have things in there that you love, but make it accessible to people. And that's ultimately how the best way to go to make money.
My experience is the opposite of that. I'd rather have a crappy game that addressed a niche that's underserved than a great game that was one of 500 great games that anybody could play. Because how do you market it? How do you get noticed? Every day there are plenty of great games that are general, but there's not a lot of games that are for people with one finger. But everybody with one finger is going to be looking for your game. You can buy the AdWords for that specific thing. You can't buy the AdWords for best game in the world.
Well, yeah, but that's true with anything.
Yeah, market segmentation.
But it comes down to what your goals are, right? Is your goal to ship a game and making a profit to grow your company, or is your goal to ship a game and then say, I've shipped a game, hire me, right? Which is the goal, right? Because you're going to have issues regardless, right? And that's why people like me make money, because I help people sell their games, because it's difficult to do.
And there's a balance, okay? Because I just stated a little while ago, I picked this genre to make money, but then I did it my way, you know? Snapper sings to me every day. You know, I constantly made decisions that I would think in my mind of my producer going, you can't do that, that sucks, it's a bad idea. And when I heard him in my brain, I went, I'm doing it, you know? And so it was still my way. Anyway, she's next up there, and then we.
Sounds good. We've got,
You guys talk about different demographics and how older women tend to use like iPads and stuff like that, and then our younger players tend to use PCs. Do you guys encourage us making our games accessible in multiple platforms, or just sticking to being like, if I want to make this just for PC gamers, I'm just making this for PC gamers, not focusing on iOS and stuff like that?
repeat the question, please.
she's asking whether you should stay in one platform or not, in a sense, right? And focus on that. And my answer is no, not with the tools today, and I'm so glad I found Wiki Unity, and I can now say yes to any opportunity, whether that's mobile, whether that's running my website now. I might even do a Congregate version to try to get, some nice stuff there. PC Mac I can do on my own instead of paying somebody. I'm hoping something happens with Switch, and I picked Unity to do that. So it's not as big of a thing anymore. There'll still be adjustments you have to make, and you still have to think of your primary market, but I wouldn't rule out everything else.
Yeah, accessibility is good. It's just a case of you've got to weigh up the pros and cons, right? So if the market is for your genre or for your game predominantly PC, then is it worth your time, money, and effort to make an Xbox port, right? Whereas if it's really easy to make a port, then make it as accessible as possible, right? And it also helps later on. It doesn't have to be all at once, right? So you could launch on PC, make enough money to then go, oh, do you know what, I'll launch on console too. And then that also gives you the opportunity of bringing the game back into the forefront of the public's mind of going, okay, so that launched last year, and now it's on console, and so that's the point where you go, oh, let's contact some more journalists because that game that they loved last year is now on console.
There's a company out at GDC, I think 2 years ago, that was their main business strategy. They actually made an alpha for PC, and then they'd go get funding from each of the platforms to turn it into a little better, etc. down the road. And that was their business model, and it seemed to be working for them.
Yeah, and I will say, especially when you first start out, be mindful of your bandwidth. I mean, it's probably better to concentrate on that one platform that the game will sell and you know how to build for, than it is to spread yourself too thin and not really shine on any one platform. Getting them on multiple platforms, like Joe was saying, is great to use Unity for awareness, but start on one, make that the best one, and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, for 3Ps particularly, I always say do it after. Like launch on one first and do it after, because what you don't want to end up in is a situation where you have really poor ports and that affects refunds and reviews and stuff like that.
All right, we'll take a question from online, and then we'll get one more question from the crowd. Question from
Do it well, then it might pay off, but there's a lot of risk involved.
There was a guy behind you who's been dying to ask a question for about 4 or 5 questions.
Yeah, on the subject of sending emails to streamers, Let's Players, I watched an example of them that really want to see a bunch of different games from different people and stuff, but they mentioned that oftentimes they get emails that are just annoying, not just in the volume, but like what it contains. Like they'll say if I get an email that contains the word influencer, it just goes straight to spam or something, and it's like influencer, sponsor, whatever. And if your emails are particularly, I guess, cringe-inducing or unethical, they won't show your game or show or talk about your game. They'll show and talk about your email, and it will probably be allowed to stock. So what advice would you give to the people who are trying to compose an email that comes across in a more friendly manner that doesn't seem like cynical and stuff?
Please repeat the question. How do you craft an email to an influencer to press?
Okay, influence. So there's a really good model that I always tell people to use, which is a really simple model, right? So intro, asset, outro, done. That's it, right? So, because you don't want to make an essay-length email because no one's going to read it, right? And you don't want to be talking too much because you're going to say something stupid, even if you have people say stupid stuff all the time. So, your best guess, especially for influencers, YouTubers and streamers, say hello, whoever it is, right? Intro your game, as in tell them what your game is, give them the short version of what the game's about, showcase the game, right? So the idea of this is the intro interests them, and then you put in a trailer, or you put in a screenshot, or you put in a GIF, or something that's going to actually visually excite them, right? And then you do the outro of going, we'd love you to check this out. Here is the link to the press kit. Here is a link to the game site. Here is a link to the Steam page. Would you be interested in a free key? Let me know. Thanks. And that's it. Just basic 2 or 3 paragraphs and an asset. And you don't need anything more than that because the majority of people don't read more than that anyway. So, real simple. Keep it short and sweet to that. Just really practice how you are describing your game. Make sure that it's exciting enough to, if you can get something down into like a sentence or two, that you can say that sentence to me and I can clearly form what that game is in my head, then you've nailed it down, right? So practice it on other people and other game developers, and if they kind of look at you like you have no idea what to talk about, it's probably your face.
Yeah.
So that's right.
Yeah, just, the key and stuff.
All right, I think we're pretty much over time. So thank you to our panelists. Appreciate your time. Congratulations to our BIG winners, and hang out and finish off the pizza.